The sun was just beginning to yawn and stretch its warm golden fingers through the branches of the whispering woods. High up in a particularly cozy oak tree, in a nest made of soft moss and twigs, a little squirrel was waking up. She stretched her tiny paws and gave a little squeak of a yawn. Her tummy felt grumbly and empty, a sure sign that it was time for breakfast. The little squirrel, who was very brave but also very, very hungry, decided today was the day for a grand adventure. She would not just find one acorn, oh no. She would find the biggest, shiniest acorn in the entire forest. With that happy thought, she scurried down the rough bark of her home tree, her little claws making a soft scritch-scratch sound. She landed with a gentle thump on a carpet of crunchy brown leaves. The forest was alive with sounds. Birds were chirping a good morning song high above, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, making them sound like they were sharing secrets. The little squirrel twitched her nose, sniffing the air for the wonderful nutty smell of her favorite breakfast. She scampered this way and that, her fluffy tail bouncing behind her like a happy question mark. She looked under a big, prickly bush. She peeked behind a smooth grey rock, but she could not find a single acorn that was just right. She was starting to feel a little disappointed, her whiskers drooping just a tiny bit. So, she decided to go a little further from her tree than she ever had before. The trees here grew closer together, and the path was less familiar. She was so busy looking up at the branches for acorns that she didn't notice how far she had gone. She finally stopped when she found a wonderful giant pine cone. It wasn't an acorn, but it was so interesting. She decided to turn around and take it back to her nest. But when she looked behind her, something felt wrong. All the trees looked the same. The path she thought she had taken was gone. Her cozy oak tree with the soft moss nest was nowhere to be seen. The little squirrel's heart began to beat a little faster, thump, 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 like a tiny drum. The friendly chirping of the birds suddenly sounded far away. The whispering of the leaves sounded less like secrets and more like mysteries. She was lost. She was all alone in the deep, deep woods. A feeling of worry started to bubble in her tummy, replacing the hunger. She let out a small, sad whimper, but this little squirrel was brave. She knew that whimpering wouldn't find her way home. She sat down on a cool, mossy stone and tried to think. Just as a little tear was about to roll down her fuzzy cheek, she heard a gentle rustling above her. It wasn't the wind. It was a kind, old owl, perched on a branch, his big eyes blinking slowly. The little squirrel looked up at him, her own eyes wide with hope. The owl did not speak in words, for owls and squirrels have different languages, but he understood a lost look when he saw one. He gave a soft, sympathetic hoot. Then, with his beak, he pointed towards a nearby clearing. There, on the trunk of an ancient, gnarled tree, was something strange. It was a symbol carved right into the bark. It looked like one single straight line, the number 1. The little squirrel didn't know what it meant. She tilted her head, confused. The old owl hooted again, this time more insistently, and fluttered his wings towards the symbol. The little squirrel, trusting the wise old bird, hopped closer to the tree. As she got near, she noticed something else. Lying right at the base of the tree, as if it had been placed there just for her, was one single, perfect acorn. She was so hungry. She picked it up. It felt smooth and solid in her paw. But as she held it, she noticed another symbol next to the first one. This one looked like 2 straight lines. The number 2. And just beyond that, on the next tree, she could see another marking. This one had 3 lines. The number 3. A wonderful idea began to sparkle in the little squirrel's mind. Maybe this wasn't just a random acorn. Maybe it was a clue. Maybe the old owl was showing her a secret path. A path marked by numbers. But she had a problem. The little squirrel knew how to find nuts and how to climb trees, but she did not yet know how to count. How could she follow a number path if she didn't know what the numbers meant? This was her quest. She wouldn't just find her way home. She would have to learn to count to do it. She looked back at the owl, who gave a slow, knowing blink. She knew what she had to do. She squeaked a brave little thank you squeak and decided to follow the numbers. She would learn what they meant one by one. Her first challenge was right in front of her. She was at the tree with the 1 line. She had found 1 acorn. She held it up. 1, one acorn. One line on the tree. One was the beginning. Can you hold up one finger with me? Let's count it together. 1. Wonderful. Feeling a new kind of excitement, the little squirrel scurried to the next tree, the one with 2 lines. She looked around carefully. If 1 acorn was at the 1 tree, what would be at the 2 tree? She sniffed the air. She looked under ferns with fuzzy leaves. She pushed aside a cluster of bumpy mushrooms. And there they were! 2 shiny brown chestnuts, sitting side by side like best friends. 2 chestnuts! For the 2 tree! She was starting to understand. Can you count them with us? 1, 2. 2 chestnuts. This was becoming a fun game. The little squirrel's worry was being replaced by curiosity. She hurried to the next tree, the one with 3 lines carved into its bark. This tree had low-hanging branches that looked like twisty arms. What would she find here? She had to look a little harder. She climbed up one of the twisty branches, her claws gripping the bark. And there, tucked into a small hole in the wood, was a little pile. Not of nuts, but of 3 smooth white stones. They were cool to the touch. 3 stones for the 3 tree. You're doing such a great job counting. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3. The path was leading her deeper into the part of the woods where the sunlight danced in dappled patterns on the forest floor. The next tree was easy to find. It was a birch tree with papery white bark, and on it were 4 clear lines. The number 4. The little squirrel looked around. She didn't see anything on the ground. She didn't see anything in the branches. Where could the 4th thing be? She started to feel a little flicker of her old worry. What if she couldn't find it? But then she remembered how brave she was being. She took a deep breath, smelling the fresh, piney air. She listened, and she heard a soft buzzing sound. She looked up, and right above her, attached to a branch, was a honeycomb. It wasn't a beehive, thankfully, as the bees had long since moved on. But left behind were 4 perfect drops of golden, sticky honey glistening in the sun. 4 drops of sweet honey. She carefully touched one and gave her paw a lick. It was delicious. 4 sweet drops for the 4 tree. Can you count to 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. The little squirrel was feeling very proud of herself. She was learning so much. She followed the path to a big, strong oak tree. On it was the next symbol. 5 lines. The number 5. This one was tricky. The ground underneath was covered in a thick blanket of dry, crunchy leaves. She would have to search carefully. She began to push the leaves aside with her little paws. Swish, swish, crunch, crunch. It was hard work. Under the first pile, she found one. Nothing. Under the second pile, she found another. Nothing. Her arms were getting tired. Maybe she should give up? But no. She remembered her cozy nest and how much she wanted to get back. She had to be persistent. She took another deep breath and pushed aside a 3rd pile of leaves. And there they were. Not 1, not 2, but 5 little bumpy seed pods from a sweet gum tree. They looked like tiny spiky stars. 5 spiky seeds for the 5 tree. You helped her find them by not giving up. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The forest was changing again. The trees were bigger and older here. The little squirrel had never been this far. But the number path was still there, guiding her. The next tree was a mighty pine tree, its bark rough and smelling strongly of sap. The symbol on it had 6 lines. 6! That seemed like such a big number. She looked high and low. She circled the wide trunk. Nothing. She sat back, feeling a little stumped. How would she ever find 6 of something? Just then, a gentle gust of wind blew through the pine tree. It shook the branches, and from high above, a soft, quiet sound floated down. Plink, plink, plink. It was the sound of pine cones falling. Oh. They landed on the soft ground all around her. The little squirrel got to work, rolling them into a group. She made sure not to count the same one twice. How many did she find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 prickly pine cones for the 6th tree. We did it! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The little squirrel was getting very good at counting. She was almost having too much fun to remember she was lost. The next tree was a willow tree, its long, droopy branches almost touching the ground like a green curtain. The symbol was there on the trunk, 7 lines. The number 7. She had to push through the soft, curtain-like branches to search. It was like being in a secret green room. And in this secret room, she found something magical. On a flat, low rock were 7 dewdrops, left over from the morning, each one holding a tiny rainbow inside it. They were so beautiful and delicate. 7 sparkling dewdrops for the 7 tree. Can you count the rainbows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The path began to lead up a small hill. The little squirrel's little legs were getting tired, but she knew she had to keep going. The next tree was at the very top of the hill. It was a lonely, twisty tree, shaped by the wind, and on it was the symbol for 8. 8 lines. That was more than she had ever counted before. She looked around the hilltop. The view was beautiful, but she didn't see anything to count. Then she heard a sound, a cheerful chirping sound. She looked up. On a branch of the twisty tree sat a mother robin, and all around her, in a neat little row, were her babies. They were waiting for breakfast. The little squirrel counted the fluffy, hungry chicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fluffy baby birds for the 8 tree. They chirped hello as we counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 2 more numbers to go. The little squirrel scurried down the other side of the hill, her energy renewed. The next tree was by a babbling brook. The water made a happy gurgle-gurgle sound over the smooth, colourful stones. The tree was a maple tree, and its symbol had 9 lines. 9. What could be by the water? She hopped from stone to stone, being very careful not to get her paws wet. And then she saw them. Lined up on a large, flat stone in the middle of the stream were 9 beautiful, colourful feathers. They must have been left by all the birds who came to drink and bathe. There was a blue jay feather, a red cardinal feather, a brown sparrow feather, and so many more. 9 beautiful feathers for the 9 tree. Let's name their colours as we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The little squirrel was so close now. She could feel it in her whiskers. She followed the path away from the babbling brook, and there it was. The final tree. It was the oldest, wisest-looking tree in this part of the forest. Its trunk was wide and its branches reached high into the sky. And on it was the biggest symbol of all. 10 straight lines. The number 10. This was it. The final challenge. She had to find 10 of something. She looked all around the giant tree. She looked in the knotholes. She looked between the roots. She looked and looked, but she found nothing. Her heart began to sink. Had she come all this way for nothing? Had she learned to count for no reason? She felt so sad that she didn't know what to do. She leaned her little head against the rough bark of the big old tree. And as she did, she heard a faint, familiar sound. It was a soft, squeaky sound. It was the sound of other squirrels. She looked up, and right then she realized where she was. This wasn't just any old tree. This was her tree, her very own cozy oak tree. She had been so busy looking at the number 10 on the trunk, she hadn't even recognized her own home. She had been led right back to her starting point, but she was a different squirrel now. She was a squirrel who could count, and then she saw them. Her family. Her mother, her father, and her 7 little brothers and sisters were all peeking out from their mossy nest, their eyes wide with excitement. They had been so worried about her. They had spent the whole morning gathering a welcome home feast. And there, laid out on a big flat leaf at the base of their tree, was the most wonderful sight the little squirrel had ever seen. It was a grand feast of 10. No, 20. No, far too many to count all at once delicious things. There were acorns and walnuts and berries and seeds. It was a giant pile of yummy food. The little squirrel's family chittered and squeaked with joy, rushing down the tree to nuzzle and welcome her home. They were so happy she was safe. The little squirrel was the happiest of all. She was home, she was with her family, and she had learned an amazing new skill on her great adventure. She sat down with her family by the feast, her grumbly tummy finally ready to be filled. But before she took one single bite, she decided to do something special. She wanted to show her family what she had learned. She pointed her little paw at the magnificent feast. Let's count some of the delicious food together with the little squirrel and her family, shall we? Let's count 10 perfect acorns from the big pile. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The little squirrel's family chittered in amazement. Their little one had left not knowing how to count and had returned a counting champion. They were so proud of her. And the little squirrel was proud too. She had been brave when she was scared, she had been persistent when it was hard, and she had learned something wonderful. She knew that no matter where she went, she could always count on her new skills to help her find her way. And as the squirrel family enjoyed their feast, the little squirrel knew that this wasn't the end of her learning. It was just the beginning. What shall we learn about in our next adventure? Will we learn about all the beautiful shapes we can find in the clouds? Or maybe we'll learn the names of all the wonderful colors in a rainbow. Join us next time to find out. Moral core: courage and perseverance in the face of a challenge.